Good morning. We'll just give folks a moment to clear the waiting room. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. Give just another moment to make sure the waiting room is clear and folks have connected to audio. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the Boston Licensing Board, and today I am joined by Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran.
Thank you. And just one brief piece of housekeeping before we move on to procedural matters for this morning's hearing. Due to a scheduling conflict, this week's voting hearing of the board will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 at 1 p.m. Notice has already been posted to the City of Boston's website. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly for this morning's hearing. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling Razorbacks Lessee LLC, doing business as W Boston, located at 100 Stewart Street. Date of the incident, August 7th, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on staff in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, everyone. Andrew Upton from Upton, Connell, and Devlin for the licensee, and I am joined by Gurki Singh, who is the GM of the hotel, Mike Griffin, who's the director of security for the hotel, and Austin Goyette, who's a security officer for the hotel who was on duty that night.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Murray.
Sergeant McIsaac.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Yep, and you, Mr. Singh, if you could please raise, there, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Officer Murray, will you be reading the report into the record?
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed.
About 12:40 a.m. on Saturday, August 7th, 2022, Officer Murray and Officer Giblin responded to a radio call for a fight at 100 Stewart Street, the W Hotel, Boston. Also responding was Sergeant McIsaac, Officer Marks, Officer Hiltunen, and Officers Entwistle and Rooney. Officer Giblin spoke to an employee of above, Austin Goyette, who stated he approached Guerrero because he was wearing a hat. Goyette stated Guerrero refused to take it off and started knocking glasses off of the table. Goyette stated he was then karate chopped in the chest by Guerrero. Goyette further stated it then escalated to the point where Guerrero needed to be restrained on the ground. Officer Murray spoke to an employee of above, Ramon Pena, who stated he observed Gilberto Guerrero grabbing onto the railing located in the lounge area of the hotel and refusing to leave. Pena attempted to have Guerrero go outside with him to calm the situation. Pena stated he stood in front of Guerrero to prevent him from going to the other side of the lounge. Guerrero then two-hand shoved Pena and said he was a guest of the hotel and going to his room. Pena then stated his supervisor, said Guerrero could not go to his room. Pena told Guerrero he wasn't going anywhere and stood in front of him. Guerrero then lunged at Pena and wound up his fist as if he was going to punch Pena, but did not make contact with him. Pena stated staff grabbed him before Guerrero could punch him. Pena declined EMS. Officer Entwistle and Officer Giblin spoke to Guerrero, who stated that he was at the bar of the above for 4 hours with his hat on. Guerrero stated he was told to take off his hat, but refused to. Guerrero then stated he was going to close his tab and leave. Guerrero stated that the staff of the above tried to initially remove him, and he refused, and then the staff tackled him. Guerrero was observed to have a ripped shirt and blood on his face. Guerrero did not know how the situation escalated so quickly when he was, quote, jumped by security. Guerrero was treated on scene by EMS. Officer Rooney spoke to a witness, Paul Yarnell, who stated they were at the bar and they had been there for 4 nights and no one had told Guerrero to take his hat off until tonight. Yarnell stated Guerrero was attacked because he would not take off his hat and that Guerrero only touched the staff when he was getting escorted out. Due to the nature of the events that occurred, officers were advised by hotel staff and manager James Colio that Guerrero needed to leave the hotel and was no longer welcome as a guest. The officers escorted Guerrero up to his room, 1121, and assisted in the removal. The officers were then advised the guests of room 801, which consisted of Patricia Yarnell, P. Yarnell, and P. Yarnell, were also no longer welcome. The officers assisted in the removal of those guests as well. Sergeant McIsaac responded to the scene and issued a license premise violation 026612. Officer advised the guests that they were removed from the hotel to contact management of the hotel in regards to their stay.
Thank you, Officer Murray. Attorney Upton, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Officer Murray, was the hotel staff cooperative during this incident?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all I have for Officer Murray. If it pleases the board, I'd like to start with a few questions from Austin Goyette, who was on duty that night.
Hello, how you doing?
Austin, can you tell us about your experience in hotel security?
I've been working hotel security for about 10 years.
Okay, and what type of training do you have?
I have all the Marriott training for crowd management, you know. Pretty much I'm up to date with all my trainings, with everything for about 10 years now.
Does that include de-escalation of incidents?
Yes, we do de-escalation trainings every 6 months with human resources also.
Okay, and you were on duty that night?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell us what happened?
So what happened was the gentleman, you know, he was asked to remove the hat by another colleague. He refused. I went over to speak to him when he was sitting down for about a minute, and then things escalated really quick with him by him throwing glass around. And then he like stood up and hit me in the chest with his arm, like to get, you know, to like shoo me away.
All right, and then you attempted to restrain him?
Yes.
And did the police come after that?
Yes.
How long between when you started talking to the guest and he started the pushing and shoving?
About a minute.
About a minute. How long before the police arrived?
They were there pretty quick, about a minute or two after the like initial thing. They might have been like right outside.
Okay. Who called the police?
Our bar manager called the police once the incident happened.
Okay. Were there any signs of trouble from this guest before you spoke to him?
No, that's why it's so bizarre that he acted so, you know, aggressive right away.
Okay. Did the guest appear to be intoxicated?
No.
Was he speaking clearly?
Yes.
Was he steady on his feet?
Yeah.
Did he smell like alcohol?
No.
Was the guest arrested?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Was he given a breathalyzer by the police?
No.
Okay. And then what happened after the police came and restrained him?
They took him outside. We spoke to the police. We decided not to let him back into the hotel, to evict his room after him assaulting multiple security staff. And then the police escorted him up to retrieve his items and let him leave.
Okay, did you see him resisting the police when they tried to get a handle on him?
Yes, there was about 3 or 4 guys on top of him in the vestibule because he was, still being uncooperative and, very aggressive.
Very aggressive. Okay, and are there posted signs about the dress code and no wearing of hats?
Yes, there's actually about 3 signs, one on each entrance of the thing, and then there's a stand-up sign right near the welcome desk.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Goyette. If I may, I'd like to ask a few questions of Mike Griffin, the Director of Security, who was on duty that night. Mike,
good morning. Yes, good morning, Andrew.
Oh, thanks. What is your title?
Director of Security.
Were you on duty that night?
Yes.
How were you involved?
I was in the security office and I heard the call over the radio, so I went out to the bar to see what was happening.
What did you see when you got there?
Austin and another security officer were trying to calm down the aggressive male guest, and the Boston police arrived about 10 seconds later.
All right. Do you have a relationship with the police?
We do, yes. For the last about 5 years, we have a reoccurring police detail we put in for Fridays and Saturdays. As of late, they have not been able to pick up those shifts.
How long did this incident with the guest go on?
I'd say it was about 1 to 2 minutes until police arrived. And then once they arrived, we handed them off to him at the main entrance. And then that's when he started fighting the police, and they were able to wrestle him down and handcuff him.
Okay, thank you very much. Finally, I'd just like to have a brief word from the general manager, Mr. Gurki Singh.
Good morning, everyone.
Mr. Singh, even though it appears that this incident happened quite quickly and the guest, his motivation is unclear, what measures have you taken since this incident to address potential other issues like this?
Yeah, I think, reviewed what looked to be the triggering point, which was the compliance of the standards. At 9 o'clock, we normally have a dress code in place, which specifically requires that you are not wearing baseball caps. Had a conversation that in this case, this is a hotel guest who probably frequented the bar multiple times during his stay, probably was wearing his baseball cap, but did not understand why it was being asked to remove it in the evening. So we needed to do a better job of, communicating that and making sure people were aware of the dress code proactively so that it did not get confrontational like it did in this case. So looked at that. Given the guest's aggressive response, we did ask the guest and the party who was with the guest, 2 rooms, that they could not stay at the property that night. And then, of course, as Austin and Mike talked about, we talked with the entire team and, reinforced de-escalation being critical and trying to not put ourselves in these positions.
Okay, and just to be clear, have you now put up additional signs at the hotel side entrance so the guests?
Yeah, next to the guest elevators, just as another precaution of being aware that, there is a dress code in the lounge.
And how long have you been managing hotels?
25 years.
Have you ever seen a guest start a fight because someone told them to take off a hat?
No, it seemed pretty extreme. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have for the hotel staff. We're glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. We'll turn to the board for questions, starting with Chairwoman Joyce. Any questions?
I do. So do you have somebody who works the entrance of the bar and tells people as they walk in that the hat has to come off at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, Chairman.
Yes,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, we have people posted at our 2 entrances to enter the building. However, he was a hotel guest, so he came down off the elevators.
Right, but when he got off the elevator into the bar, did someone explain to him that you can't wear your hat in the bar after 9 o'clock?
No, because he was already sitting at the bar at that time. So
Right.
we went out to the lounge at 9 o'clock, and that's when we first approached him to take it off.
Okay, do you have video of that approach?
Unfortunately, we do not. The person that the citation was given to, Miguel Pena, he no longer works for us, and he didn't even make it aware that we received a citation that night. We didn't know until we got the subpoena in the mail.
Okay, so Mr. Singh just said that it seemed as if he was observing video when he was talking about, it appears that the moment of, the moment that he was asked to take off the hat, that when he was engaged, when the problem happened. So do you review video, Mr. Singh?
No, Ms. Joyce, did not review video. I read the incident report on it.
Okay, so you had a guest who was here for 4 nights. He came down the elevator with a hat on. He was in the bar, and at 9 o'clock, someone went over to him and told him to take his hat off. And this escalated to a point where he and his people staying in this hotel room were asked to leave at 12:40 in the morning after staying at your hotel for 3 nights. In the middle of the night, they were told to get up and leave.
Madam Chair, I think
Oh,
that
I understand that there's an assault that happened. I understand that from reading the report, but I'm trying to figure out if there was more that the hotel could have done to have prevented this. This is a person that's been staying in the hotel, that has been down there, that was not informed by anyone here that they had to take their hat off until after the fact. I'd like to see pictures of the signs that indicate this and stuff like that.
Sure.
that's a totally legitimate question, but just to clarify on the timing, let's ask Mr. Goyette. Did you observe him wearing a hat between 9 and 12:40, or did you only first observe him wearing a hat around 12:30, 12:40?
So when I observed him wearing a hat, it was around I would say 12:10, 12:15. I believe he went back up to his room and changed and then put a hat on, because we do rounds from 9 o'clock on, and we would have seen him throughout the lounge area with a hat on. He would have been approached a lot sooner with the hat on. When I observed him and another colleague observed him, it was around 12:20 or 12:15-ish. And that's when we went over and spoke to him.
Okay.
But
how many police responded to this? Can someone tell me that? That's all right, I can add it up myself, but what I'm trying to get at is this is a significant police response to a fight at a bar about a man wearing a hat who's staying in your hotel. And could the hotel have done more to prevent this? So those are the questions I'm pondering as I think about this. And I want to ask the other commissioners if they have any other questions.
Commissioner Carn, any questions?
I think I'm following the same line of concern for the chairwoman. Is why was the other party asked to evacuate? Why were they evicted?
You mean the friends and colleagues of Mr. Guerra?
Yeah, I don't see them doing anything to the extent that he is. They just supported his story.
So I can try to answer that. The concern there was that given his, the fact that he assaulted one of our associates, we have a policy that if there is a guest who is abusive or assaults our associates, we do ask them to leave the property. Our concern was when he would come back to the property that since there were 2 rooms, that he would have access to the building and be able to go to the other room since both the parties were present at the same table. And that's why we asked both the parties to leave the building. So there was no further escalation and no further issues in the middle of the night.
So the 2 rooms were one party, that was one booking, is that what you're saying?
They're related, yes.
Were they one booking or were they 2
No,
separate
2 different bookings, 2 different names, but they were, I believe they were family members.
Family members? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I'm just trying to clarify. So Chairman Joyce asked whether once the guest got out of the elevator, whether there is someone who's standing at the lounge door to say, oh, there's a policy of no hats. And so, Mr. Goyette, you just testified that the guest must have gone back upstairs to get his hat and then came back down at around 12:10, 12:15, because that's when you saw him. Because you said you do rotations between 9 and 12, so you would have seen him had he had his hat on earlier. So I just want to repeat Chairman Joyce's question is like, is there anyone that is standing right in the entrance of the lounge to tell him to take his hat off before he enters?
There's actually a sign posted. So the way that the hotel is set up, before you walk into the lounge, if you come off the elevators, there's a sign posted with our dress code. It's like a little stanchion that he has to walk by and read to see what the dress code is, because the doors are out front. So there is a sign posted right there before he walks by the welcome desk and the bar. So yes, there is a sign there.
Right. Can you forward all that information, pictures of that to us? It just seems like Boston police are responding to a fight caused by a man wearing a hat when they have other crimes to solve in the city. And people were asked to leave the hotel room. I'm again trying to figure out if there was something else that the hotel should have done to have prevented this. So please send a layout of where your security is, where your doormen are,
Sure.
where the elevators are. I want to get a better understanding of this.
All right. Mr. Green, if I can just conclude, if there's no more questions. Okay, we've heard testimony that this man was not identified wearing a hat between 9 and 12:15. Mr. Goyette saw him wearing a hat around 12:15, 12:20. Mr. Goyette is trained in guest interaction and de-escalation. He asked this man several times politely to remove his hat. The guy swept glasses off his table in a fit of anger, karate chopped the security guard, and harassed the other security guard who was with him. As is the policy of the hotel, and I think appropriate action for any licensee, when this guy started going crazy and fighting two large security guards, they called the police. When the police came, this guy was so irrational and incensed that he resisted 4 police officers who had to take him to the ground and then handcuff him. This is not an event that was foreseeable in any way, shape, or measure. This is not an event that was exacerbated or caused by the hotel. Mr. Goyette was the victim who was assaulted here, and where we are certainly trying to take additional remedial measures and are willing to work with the board on any possible preventative measures, the idea that a 45-year-old guy and his in-laws would start a fight at a bar within 2 minutes after being asked to remove their hat, we don't believe is foreseeable, and we believe that the hotel reacted appropriately.
What time does the hotel bar close?
It's at 1:30.
And this happened at what time?
12:15.
12:15 to 12:40.
Okay. All right, I don't think I have any other questions.
Thank you. Anything further from the board at this time? Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement, and please do provide the requested documents, including the layout of the space and the security layout to the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2 has been rescheduled and will appear on the next available hearing date. Calling item number 3, Concord Entertainment, Inc., doing business as Bill's Bar, the Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street. Date of the incident, October 1st, 2022. Assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning are Scott Miles, Sarah Palmer, and Katina Corpines from the Lions Group. Good morning.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Good morning, Sergeant Holborn is present.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Yes, my name is Alexandra Wright.
My name is Robert Joyce.
Great. Thank you very much. Could you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Sergeant Hoban, you may please proceed with the police report.
Okay. I have two separate reports. I'll start with the original incident.
Thank you.
Approximately 10:06 p.m. on Saturday, October 1st, 2022, Officer Herbert, assigned to the Delta 441 Frank, responded to a radio call for assault and battery report at 9 Lansdowne Street, the Lansdowne Pub, in the Fenway neighborhood of Boston. Upon arrival, Officer Herbert made contact with the victim, Alexandra F. Wright, who stated prior to the officer's arrival, she was assaulted by a member of the staff from Lansdowne Pub. Victim stated she is part of the band that played earlier that day. Victim stated once the band was finished performing, she, along with other band members, began to clear the stage. At this time, the staff member / suspect, identified as Tedros McCrary, got on stage and began to yell for the band to exit the stage. Victim stated that the suspect was engaging in a verbal altercation with members of her band, and at that point, the victim got in the middle to break up the verbal altercation. While doing so, the victim stated she felt the suspect grab her shoulder area and push her away from the staging area. Officer Herbert spoke with McCrary, who stated he is the sound technician for Lansdowne Pub. McCrary stated that when the band was finished, he asked the members to exit the stage. McCrary stated that he asked all members about 3 times, but the band members were not leaving the stage area. Suspect stated that McCrary stated that the victim in particular disregarded his request to leave. At this time, McCrary stated he attempted to usher the victim off the stage and use his hands and body to block the victim from the stage area. McCrary stated he was unaware that the victim was a part of the band. It says, note, victim was not wearing any insignia that would indicate she was part of the band. Victim did not request EMS. Officer Herbert did not observe any injuries that the victim sustained from the incident. There was a witness on scene, Robert Joyce, Emily Brodsky, Bobby DeGolia, Kevin Vignault. Witnesses stated that the suspect, McCrary, was swearing at the victim and told her to get the fuck off the stage. Witnesses also stated that they observed the suspect put both hands on the victim's shoulder area and push her away from the stage area. Managers at Lansdowne Pub were on scene: Mark Cosby, Ben Hamilton, Scott Miles, Sarah Palmer. Managers on scene indicated video surveillance of the incident does exist. None of the managers witnessed the incident. Sergeant Hoban arrived on scene and conducted the code 35 of the establishment. I can read that report now.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
Yep. So on Saturday, October 1st at about 11:30 p.m., myself, Sergeant Hoban, along with Officer Herbert, conducted a code 35, which was a licensed premise inspection at Lansdowne Pub, located at 9 Lansdowne Street, as it was a call for assault and battery in progress, which prompted the code 35. Sergeant Hoban spoke with Sarah Palmer, who was a manager at the time of the incident. Lansdowne Pub was issued a license premise violation 042880 as a result of a patron-on-patron assault and battery.
Thank you, Sergeant Hoban. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, is it Sergeant Hoban?
Yes,
or Detective Sergeant? So were you present for the incident itself? Did you observe any of the alleged incident?
No, when I responded, everyone was separated, and Officer Herbert was speaking with the parties, but even he was not present during the original incident.
Okay. And then when you were there, you then filled out the inspection notice?
Correct.
And Ms. Palmer signed that, is that correct?
Yes, she signed for it.
And did the staff and herself cooperate with you and the other officers?
They were cooperative, yes.
Okay. Would it be fair to suggest from the reading of the report that there were different versions of the incident that occurred?
I believe there was, yes.
Okay. One from the staff and one from the Ms.
Yes.
Wright and the other gentleman.
Yes.
And were you able to determine whether or not Ms. Wright was actually a part of the band, or was she just a patron that night?
I had a brief conversation with her, and she was with the band that night. I'm not sure what her affiliation with the band is, but she was with the band.
So you don't know whether she's a friend of somebody in the band. She wasn't a band member, though, was she?
I don't believe she was a band member, no.
Okay. Thank you, Sergeant. I have no further questions for the Sergeant.
Okay, thank you.
Are these other witnesses going to speak?
If we can, I'd like to, yes.
I mean, it's not up to me, so.
No, Attorney Quilty,
you didn't know you were done questioning.
Yeah, did you have other witnesses you were going to present, Attorney Quilty?
I do, but wouldn't it be normal to hear from these folks first? I mean, I'm happy to put my people on now.
No, we would normally hear your presentation first.
All righty. And if I could call Ms. Palmer to the stand. She's the general manager at the time, and she's the person who signed the inspection notice. Ms. Palmer, would you just state your name for the record? You've already been sworn.
Sure. My name is Sarah Palmer.
Okay. And were you working at the Lansdowne Pub the night in question?
I was, yes.
Okay. And were there, excuse me, were there a series of bands playing that night?
It was, yeah. There was a pub crawl, so we had a bunch of bands scheduled. Lansdowne Pub is a live music venue.
Okay. And the individual who's here this morning, Ms. Wright, to your knowledge, was she a member of any of the bands that were playing there that night?
No, I know she was with the band as a friend. I did not know she was was a part of the band. No.
Okay. And the band that she was friends with, let's say, were they, what time were they performing?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was supposed to be 7 to 8, but they were late arriving to the venue. I think they got there closer to 7:15.
Okay. And were they to be followed by another band?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And by being 15 minutes late, did they affect the performance time of the band that was to follow them?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. And at the conclusion of their performance, were they asked to vacate the stage to make room for the next band?
They were. Ted McRae was trying to get them to hurry up. So he was helping them get the stuff off the stage, which is fairly normal for his job. He's a sound technician. That's his job.
Okay. And Mr. McCrary is no longer employed at the Lansdowne Pub, is he?
He is not.
But he was the sound technician on the night in question.
Correct.
And would you describe his job responsibilities as the sound technician?
Sure. So he's responsible for keeping the stage clean, making sure that the bands load in properly and on time for sound check, running them through sound check, checking the levels of the music, making sure they're not going to blow out a speaker, there's no feedback, helping them plug in, unplug, and leave the stage when they're finished.
Okay. And is your testimony today that he was performing his job on the night in question?
He was.
Okay. And can you tell the board what it is that he did, his interaction with Ms. Wright when the band finished its performance?
So I wasn't present at the time of it, but I did watch footage, so I can testify to what I saw in the footage. Is that okay?
Well, do you know whether or not Mr. McCrary asked her to leave the stage when the band was done with their performance?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not he struck her in that regard?
Like physically touched her?
Yep.
No, not to my knowledge. There was some bumping, but not like a shove or a push or an assault. No.
Okay. And you observed this from the video of the incident?
Correct.
And is that video available to be disseminated to the board today?
Absolutely.
Okay, we will provide that. Mr. Green will have that video sent over as soon as the as soon as the hearings are done this morning.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Palmer, you then signed the inspection notice. Did you interact with the police officers?
I did. So I was on break. I was having dinner at the time that this all happened. So I got my tab paid out and came back to the venue. And I spoke to the police officer that was responded first. And then I spoke to Miss Wright and the band. And then we spoke to Ben and Scott. We spoke to everybody.
Okay. And is it your opinion from everything you observed and everything you learned that your staff was simply doing their job on the night in question?
Yes.
And that they did not assault this individual, Ms. Ms. Wright?
Correct.
Did the band that Ms. Wright was there as a friend of eventually leave the stage, and did the next band go on?
Yes, while they were breaking down their set, the next band was having to load in because they ran behind about 20 minutes.
Okay. And that was as a result of the first band being late?
Correct.
And therefore getting off the stage late, and therefore making the next band late?
Correct.
And in your opinion, is that why your staff member asked them to get off the stage and allow the other band to play?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. The board may have some questions for you.
Okay.
Scott Miles, who's with us this morning, also made certain observations. Scott, are you with us here now? Hello? No?
I don't see Mr. Miles anywhere in the participant list.
All right, I apologize for that. So I guess we'll be available for any of the board's questions.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee, or would you like to hear from the victim and witness first?
I have a couple of questions first. So Ms. Palmer, I just want to make sure I understand. This band that was performing was running 15 minutes late. They were 15 minutes over their time because they were late or something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, they were 15 minutes late loading in, but so the way that it works is we do a sound check before they perform. So if you're 15 minutes late to the venue, that pushes back your sound check, or it gets skipped altogether.
Okay.
And then
that's totally, I just wanted to get an idea of the timing, because
yes,
it sounds like other members of your staff were trying to encourage them to hurry up and get off the stage when they were done.
Correct.
So this person who hasn't testified yet, who said she was with the band, it appeared that she was also trying to help them get their stuff off the stage, probably knowing that they were late too.
So we don't allow non-band members to be on the stage. That's not something that we allow because a lot of the equipment at the venue is ours. So our sound techs work with that venue, with the equipment and everything, and we don't want people.
Did the band know that they were running late?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. Does the band know that no other people besides band members can be on the stage?
It was communicated to them by Mr. McRae.
Who's not here?
Who's not here.
Okay. And who did he communicate that to? Do you know?
Told her directly, please get off the stage. You're not a part of the band. He told her 3 or 4 times.
Well, did the band know before he asked this woman to get off the stage that they could only have band people on the stage?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming so. That's our protocol to let people know.
But they also knew they were running late and had to get off stage quickly.
Correct.
So there was probably an urgency.
Should have been, yes.
Yeah, in this video, so we could take a look at that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Those are my questions. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carr, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions for the licensee at this point?
I do quickly. Mr. McCrary, right? Is that his name?
Yes.
Was he trying to get them off the stage by himself?
It was the band members and Mr. McRae trying to get all the equipment off the stage, and Miss Wright.
Yeah, but I meant any other members of your staff, were they there trying to get people off the stage at that moment?
No, we aren't certified to work with that equipment. We're not a sound tech. We leave that to the sound techs.
Oh yeah, but I'm not talking about the working with the equipment, but just the mere fact of moving people off the stage when Mr. McCrary doesn't believe that they should be there anymore.
It was just him and the band.
Okay, do you have any protocol for when he's not having success moving people off the stage that he would call in help from security?
Yep. So he did eventually get security involved at the end of the interaction, yes.
Okay, but after what was alleged to have occurred, what you see on the video is shoving, before that happened, he doesn't involve any other members of your staff, correct?
No, that's correct.
And did any other members of your staff witness this from any distance?
No.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions for the licensee at this time?
Not right now. I'll listen to the rest of the testimony.
Thank you. Ms. Wright and Mr. Joyce, is there anything additional you would like to provide for the board's consideration?
Yes, I will say although I'm not a performing member of the band, like I don't sing, play guitar, play drums or bass, as those are the other band members. I am kind of like a road member, I guess you could say. I help load in, I help if there's any issues during the show. I hand guitars, take guitars if need be. And I also help take gear off. We did notify the sound tech. Multiple members of the band notified him that I was a member of the band. We were taking the gear off the stage as quickly as we could. The sound manager, or sound tech, I'm sorry, was kind of carelessly tossing equipment. So we did try to get it off the stage as quickly as we could, so that things didn't get damaged by his moving them. And I will say he didn't come up to me trying to usher me off the stage as he originally stated. He was making comments at members of the band, specifically towards the drummer, saying, "I'm old enough to be your dad. F you, get off the stage," making comments. And the member of the band had turned around and was responding to him. And I stood in front of him and I said, "Hey, it's not worth it. Let's just get the stuff off the stage." And it was at that point that the sound tech got mad at the drummer and came up behind me as I was face to face with the drummer, came up behind me, grabbed on to my shoulders and began shoving me, I think probably 10 or 15 seconds. He also did not get security involved after he removed his hands off me, and the people surrounding us brought attention to him putting his hands on me. He let go, walked away. I immediately went up to the bartender, explained to her what happened, and she kind of laughed to herself and said, so I walked away from her, went to the front entrance of the bar, and was connected with security staff, explained the situation, and then let them know that I did want to file a report and a police report.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. And Mr. Joyce, you are indicated in the report as a witness. You've been sworn in. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, you know, we didn't show up to the venue late, but we started our set late because we were having some technical problems with some of our equipment, and we were able to make, you know, the show happen on our end. And after our performance, I noticed the sound tech, you know, on stage kind of aggressively just moving some of our equipment. And I've been playing, you know, I toured professionally with another artist for about 3 years. And I've been doing my own band, which I was doing at Lansdowne Pub for since about March of 2022, I believe. And I've never had anybody touch my equipment that wasn't part of our crew. And Lex travels with us, and she, you know, and we have one other person who travels with us who, you know, we only traveled with a 3-piece band at that time. And Lex knows she helps us break down and set up equipment all the time. She knows how to pack certain things up, and it's never been an issue until that night. And I've certainly never had anybody that wasn't a part of our crew that came with us touch any of our equipment. So as soon as we noticed him touching our stuff, we sort of said, okay, we tried to get our stuff off as soon as we could. And he seemed pretty angry that we had gotten a late start, and just angry in general. But I'd say I've certainly never had anything like that happen as far as somebody handling our equipment.
I also just wanted to add quickly, it was said that the band arrived late to the performance. We were actually there like an hour or so, maybe almost 2 hours beforehand.
Enough to see the opening.
We saw Samantha Ray, I think it was, who played before. We saw her act. They actually ended up talking to her during one of their breaks, enough that the people who had come to see them, we all ate dinner, including the band. We ate beforehand, watched the band. As soon as the band beforehand loaded off, we began loading their stuff on stage immediately. So we were not there late by any means.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Any further questions from the board for the witnesses or the licensee? Chairman Joyce, any questions? Commissioner Carn or Commissioner Saxon, any further questions? Great. Thank you all for being with us this morning. The board will take this matter under
Mr. Green,
advisement. Yep.
Mr. Green, I have the opportunity to question these witnesses, please.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Attorney Quilty, proceed.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wright, you now suggest that you weren't late, yet the testimony you provided was you were late getting on the stage. Were you late onto the stage?
No, I didn't say
technical. Well, one of you said you had technical issues.
I did.
Which caused you not to be on the stage on time. Is that right?
No, I said that we just got a late start as far as starting our first song. We actually started our performance late because of technical issues we were having. As far as being on the stage and being at the venue, we were there very early, I would say.
But in terms of your performance, you started late. Therefore, the next band coming on was delayed because of that. Is that fair to say?
I don't know that we ended late.
I don't think so.
I know that we started late.
Normally,
technical issues.
Normally at gigs, there's somebody will come and tell the band or me, and I'll communicate to the band, you know, you have 2 songs left, 1 song left, you know, cut, that sort of thing. And that was kind of what happened at this gig. I don't recall if someone said, you know, you have 2 songs or 1 song left, but it wasn't, it's not like they said, okay, you're done at this time, and we went beyond that time.
But that doesn't make any sense. Either you were late getting off or you weren't late getting off. Did somebody tell you, did the sound tech say, come on, let's go?
No.
I don't believe we were late getting off the stage, but we were late starting our performance.
I think it was just a shorter performance than expected.
Right.
So is it your testimony that for no apparent reason, the sound technician rushed you off the stage?
I think the sound tech was irritated that there was an issue. So they run tracks, which there's a computer program in which there's the sounds that the band can't make readily plays over the speakers. And the program wasn't launching. There was an issue with it, the program launching. So they actually had to go through a different means to get that to work. So that was what the delay was. And when we were taking the gear off, he was swearing at all of us, saying that it was our problem, not his, that there was technical difficulties and that we had effed up, and just seemed to be aggravated with us in general.
Yeah, once the tracks stopped working, his demeanor was irritable with us pretty much the entire night, further than that.
Can I jump in and ask a question? So this gentleman, Mr. McRae, whatever, no longer works there?
I couldn't understand what you said, I'm sorry.
This gentleman, Mr. McRae, who jumped on the stage, who is not with us today, you stated the reason why he's not here is that he is no longer employed. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
When did he leave and why?
Sarah, can you answer that, or Katina?
I was actually not at the venue anymore when that happened. I've since switched venues, so I'm now at Game On Fenway, so I'm not 100% sure.
It was okay. October of 22. Katina, do you know?
If you don't know, that's fine. I was just curious if that would, you know, we're talking about somebody who's not here, and I just wanted to know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that knowledge. I'm not involved in the hiring or terminating of employees at the venues. Well, I can try to find that out.
We'll try to find out and provide the information.
Okay.
As you know, in the bar and restaurant business, especially in the post-COVID era, you know,
if you could send over how long he had worked there and when he left, that would be helpful to me in the video.
We can provide that information. We can provide that information.
I think I have enough information. Commissioners, do you have enough information?
I'm really the whole time sitting here just focusing on this video. I mean, it's been testified that it's pretty clear. So
yeah,
I'll be anticipating a clear video of this incident.
We will provide that today.
All right. That's all I would have.
Does the video just cover the stage area, or does it also cover other viewpoints? You know, we have a testimony from one of the band members that she went over and spoke to someone else.
There's 2 camera angles. One is looking onto the stage, and the other one is the point of view of the stage. And it just shows the actual incident.
Thank you. Ms. Wright, did I just see you raising your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, when the police arrived after we called to file the report, Sarah Palmer, the other manager, once she had shown up, the police officer did ask to see the footage on her phone, and she pulled up some of the surveillance footage, showed it and said, oh, do you see he just had his hands up like this. And the video that she showed us, from the point that we were beginning to load stuff off, I was on one side of the stage, and then it cut and skipped it skipped over the actual incident that occurred where he pushed me and grabbed onto my shoulders. It skipped until after the people around the stage stood up and said, hey, get your hands off her. And then his hands went up like this. So the part that we were showed, they said that there was an issue with the technology or communication or something. So it just conveniently skipped that part. So I'm not sure if the actual incident's there.
Thank you. The board will.
Was there any indication in any of the police reports?
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. We're gonna wait for the video to be submitted, and I will put on my hat as chairwoman and take a look at it. And if I have any other questions, we'll follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please do provide the requested video and the employment records for Mr. McCreary. Licensing board at boston.gov. The board will vote tomorrow. And we'll take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, Lisa DePrizio, doing business as Pocket Billiard Club, located at 981 Bennington Street in East Boston, dated the incident October 30th, 2022. Fight on premises in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Lisa DePrizio.
Great, thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I'm Detective Alfred James.
And Detective Patrick Flaherty.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
That's me. Hi, I'm Francesca DePrizio.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And who will be reading the police report into the record?
Detective James, I'll read the report.
Thank you. You may proceed.
About 2:25 a.m. on Sunday, December 30th, 2022, Detective Flaherty, assigned to the Gold 469, responded to a reported assault and battery at 100 Borden Street. Upon arrival, Detective Flaherty spoke with Gary St. Pierre, who was being treated by Boston EMS and Boston Fire. St. Pierre stated he had been assaulted by several men while he was in Pocket Billiards Club located at 981 Bennington Street. Detective Flaherty observed there to be blood on the face and nose of St. Pierre. St. Pierre stated that he had been in the Pockets bar when he was attacked by several men who were also at the bar. St. Pierre stated that at some point he was struck in the face with a bottle. St. Pierre appeared to be under the influence of alcohol. St. Pierre declined further medical treatment for the minor abrasion to his face. Officer responded to Pockets Bar and spoke with manager Francisca DePrizio, who stated that St. Pierre was asked to leave, and as he had been previously banned from the establishment, DePrizio stated that once St. Pierre was asked to leave, he began shouting and yelling around the bar, causing a scene. DePrizio stated that the bouncer was able to move St. Pierre but denied any physical altercation. St. Pierre was then brought to Marriott on board Missouri. He stated he had that room reserved. The hotel employee said St. Pierre had been asked to leave earlier that day and did not want him at the hotel. Detectives Flaherty brought St. Pierre to the Pine Street Inn where he was afforded a place to stay for the night. I have a second report, sir.
Yep, we have that as well. If you could please read that in.
Yes, on November 13, 2022, Detective James, Detective Stone went to Pocket Billiard Club located at 981 Bennington Street. They did an inspection of the club and wrote the club up for a violation, a fight. The victim, Gary St. Pierre, stated that he had been attacked by the club by several men. Citation 001152 was issued for the violation.
Thank you, Detective James. Ms. DePrizio, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I would. So I know Gary Philissant as Sammy. He's like a neighborhood guy that everyone seems to call Sammy. So when I was approached about this, I didn't know that his real name was Gary. He has been previously asked not to come to this establishment multiple times. He has been banned since prior to me working there. He's also known to be unpredictable. So we always ask him to leave as soon as we see him. But in this instance, he refused to leave and then caused a scene in our establishment. But he was escorted out just fine.
Anything further, or shall we move to questions?
I think that's it. I'm just.
Okay, thank you.
The assault, anything that happened to him didn't happen inside. He was escorted out. He was fine in one piece.
Thank you. We'll move to Chairwoman Joyce. Do you have any questions of the licensee or the detectives?
My question is, how do you think he ended up with his face cut and bleeding?
Seeing as how he's really, I don't want to say unstable, but he's very unpredictable in that matter. I can't really foresee how anything happened to him because I know that he is just a little out there. He takes medication and we only see him when he's not on medication. Like that's usually a telltale sign. So as far as what he does when he's outside of the establishment, I'm unsure.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Saxon. Any questions?
None from me. Thanks.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, Goosebin LLC, doing business as Medallo, located at 411 Chelsea Street in East Boston. Dated the incident October 23rd, 2022. Fight patron on patron outside in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. And common victular license not displayed properly, expired in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Anybody else?
Oh, I see you speaking, but I can't hear you. No, it appears that you're on. I don't even see an option to unmute you. Oh, here we are, connected to audio now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, could you please identify yourself?
My name is Miguel Montava. I am the security manager, plus I own a security company as well. I do multiple security sites for different bars and clubs.
Thank you. And is there somebody with you who's also going to testify?
Yes. Luis Maldonado.
You need to get up now.
I'm sorry. Yep. Could you please identify yourself, sir?
Luis Maldonado.
Luis Maldonado. Thank you. And your position with Medallo? I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm the owner.
The owner, great, thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective Casales.
Great, and are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear, your right hand, Mr. Maldonado.
Right here. Hello.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Sergeant Detective Casales, you can please proceed with the police report.
Yes, good morning. On Sunday, October 23rd, about 1:45 in the morning, Officer De Silva, who was a patrol officer assigned to that area, when he was approaching 411 Chelsea Street, he incited a fight outside of the bar called Medallo Bar. When Officer De Silva observed a group of 6 to 10 females congregating outside the above location, I'm sorry, it's his report, so Okay, so he saw the group yelling and screaming at each other in front of the bar. Officer De Silva activated his blue lights and siren in an attempt to disperse the crowd. Officer De Silva was then flagged down by one of the staff, Mr. Luis Maldonado, who stated that the fight had been between these females, began inside the Medallo bar, to which the female patrons were escorted out of the establishment. According to Mr. Maldonado, he had overheard that the females were going to continue to fight outside of the bar. Officer De Silva's attention was then brought to the side of the bar, where he observed the same 6 to 10 females engaged in a physical altercation. Officer De Silva drove his department vehicle down to Chelsea Street, where the fight continued. He again activated his blue lights and sirens. Officer De Silva exited his department cruiser, radioed for help, for units to respond to the scene and help with the large crowd. Officer De Silva announced several times for the females to break up the fight, but it continued. Officer De Silva then attempted to physically break apart the females fighting, but they still would not stop fighting. At this time, the responding units, Officer Pels, Officer Ortiz, Officer Cunningham, Officer Nazaire, and myself responded. As officers arrived on scene with their cars, then the crowd began to disperse. Officer De Silva observed one female named Gina Perez with minor lacerations to the face. Officer De Silva tried to get her EMS help, but she refused. The victim stated that during the altercation, she lost a gold necklace. It should be noted that management of the Medallo bar establishment was aware of the fight taking place inside and outside the bar. Officer De Silva requested the patrol supervisor, which is I, Sergeant Detective Casales, to respond to the establishment to perform a licensed premise check. During the premise check, I observed the Medallo bar was in violation because they had an expired VIC license. The date of expiration was December 31st, 2021. The way that it was displayed, the paper was folded, so they were obscuring the date on it. So if you just walked up and looked at the glass, you'd have to take the whole thing apart in order to unfold it and see that it was expired by over a year. And license violation number 066586 was filled out and handed to Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you very much. Mr. Maldonado, Mr. Montava, would you like to address the alleged incident?
So, yes, my name is Miguel Montava. I came into the bar. We actually had the two parties separated. There was a party inside and there was the party outside. When the actual incident was happening, we flagged down the officer. We said, hey, there's an incident happening. Can you step out of the car? Luis Maldonado told him, hey, there's an incident. We had them already separated. There was arguments outside, speaking with the actual parties that were involved. Not both parties that were actually fighting. There was two separate incidents. So the outside, they were speaking and yelling, but the actual period that they were actually, the altercation happening, we had them inside because we did not want the actual incident to spill out to the outside of the neighborhood. So we actually, Luis Maldonado flagged down the officer. He said, hey, we have an incident. We're having an incident. Can you please assist? He came outside. He told him to disperse. And then they dispersed. And then he went back into his vehicle. At this point, we let the other party go outside. When that happened, we said, hey, we're letting you know that the actual party is to your left. And then the other party is going to your right. They're stating that they're going to continue the incident. And he said, okay, don't worry about it. I'm here. I'll sit in my car. And I said, okay, that's perfectly fine, but I'm just letting you know, can you step outside and be more present? He said, don't worry about it. I'm in my vehicle. That's, you know what I mean? So when they were starting walking away, I see the actual people walking from the left, going to the right towards the other people. At that point, I'm telling the officer, and you can see it on camera, hey, they're heading towards down Chelsea Street. They're going to continue to fight. He stood in his vehicle at that point, and he's like, don't worry about it. I'm here. When he hears the actual screaming and arguments, I physically help them separate the actual people when they were fighting. That wasn't stated in the actual report. It was me and him separating everybody that was actually fighting. When the actual officers actually arrived, the incident was already done. At that point, everybody was in their vehicles, everybody already had left or in the process of leaving. So the report in that sense didn't reflect what actually happened.
Thank you, Mr. Montalvo. Mr. Maldonado, anything further you would like to add?
Yes. Yes, I was that day. I think that what I did is the right point. That was a party inside. Those ladies, they wanted to fight inside the business, and then I know her because she used to come here like a lot. And then I told her, "Can you please control yourself? If you don't control yourself, I need to decide something." And then she's kicking, say, "Oh, I want to fight," and then she's out of control. And then I told her, "Can you please sit down and control yourself? I can do something for you." And she's not listening. Like she's getting, "Oh, I want to fight. And you know what? I'm telling you tonight, I'm in a good way, please. Relax, control yourself." And then she's like, no, when I fight, "Okay, you know what? Can you please follow me to outside? Please, can you please follow me?" So I took her outside, and then when I take her to outside, she's screaming, she's shoes off, like she's really doing things like it's not normal. And then I told her, "Can you please leave it and walk away from the sidewalk?" And then she's, "No, I want to wait and I want to fight." So basically that's how they started. And then she waiting for she's friends, and basically that fight is all friends. And then what Miguel just said, I was there outside, and I think I did the right thing. Definitely, if something happens, that's the way what I did. They took her outside, and then I was the police right there next to me. But I was asked for help, and then they keep sitting inside the car. And then we saw like it really serious. I keep flashing with my light, and then he's definitely he come out, but he go back in. So basically, that's how the problem started. And then about the Commonwealth virtual license, and then I think that's something like just saying I have this about the pandemic, about the COVID temporarily, and then now I'm very sure I don't have enough food in here, no services, any food. I trying to explain to the police that day, and then he's like, "Nope, you need to get a new one. Okay, and I trying to explain to him, but he says, "No, it's not." And then, okay, that's fine. And then I take him off from there, because what I did, I think I'm not gonna do it again. I put the old one in the back and a new one in the front. That's how I have it, folding in there. Definitely I'm not this. I take him off from there, and then definitely I'm pretty sure I don't have enough food in here. And then
okay, you're not serving food anymore, right?
At all. No.
You had a temporary CB during COVID, but you're not serving food now.
Yes.
No issues with that.
I'm sorry. That's my food, and then I take them off, and then
it can be confusing even to the police officers when they walk into the establishment. It's confusing to us too. But during COVID, we allowed people who did not have CB to serve food with alcohol if they applied for a temporary one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's all I got.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee or for the sergeant detective?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None from me either. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Calling item number 6, Bop Productions LLC, doing business as Bebop, located at 116 Boylston Street, dated the incident December 4th, 2022. Patrons drinking alcohol on seasonal patio in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and persons under 21 in possession of alcohol in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Mr. Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me this morning is Noreen Maloney. Excuse me, I think Tommy McCarthy as well. And very interestingly, Ms. Kirk, who is the person who was in possession of the beverage. Good morning.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Sergeant Hernandez, thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Sunday, December 4th, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD Licensed Premise Unit, were conducting a licensed premise inspection of the Bebop located at 1116 Boylston Street in Boston. While walking up to the establishment, detectives observed two patrons standing outside on the establishment's seasonal patio with what appeared to be beers. Detectives noticed that these patrons looked young and asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. One of the individuals stated that he was over 21 years of age and produced a driver's license stating he was over 21 years of age. Detectives were able to confirm that Mr. Emil Brown was over 21 years of age. The other patron, later identified as Kristen Kirk, stated she was not 21 years old and she did not have any identification. Ms. Kirk did provide detectives with her identifying information. Detectives were able to confirm that Ms. Kirk was under 21 years of age. As a result of what was discovered, Ms. Kirk will be summoned to the court for persons under 21 in possession of alcohol. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Ms. Noreen Mahoney. Ms. Mahoney then stated that Ms. Kirk was denied service of alcohol because she did not have any identification, and Mr. Bowen had purchased two beers. One of the beers was the one Ms. Kirk was drinking. Mr. Bowen will be summoned to the court for procuring alcohol for a person under 21 years of age. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 059982 for person under 21 years old and possession of alcohol on premise and patrons drinking alcohol on seasonal patio. Ms. Mahoney signed for an accepted notice. So,
thank you. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Thank you. If I might, Detective Hernandez, did the establishment and staff cooperate with you?
Yes, sir, very much.
That was Ms. Maloney, who was with us this morning. She signed the notice, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you at some point come to understand that Ms. Kirk was performing in a band that evening?
I'm sorry, sir, what was your question?
Did it come to your knowledge at some point that Ms. Kirk was performing in a band that was playing at the establishment that evening?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And she cooperated with you as well, Ms. Kirk, that is?
Yes, sir.
And did she, in fact, she was summoned, your report indicates she would have been summoned into court. Do you know, in fact, that has happened?
Yes.
Okay. And she went to a hearing with the clerk magistrate?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. If I may, Madam Chair, members, both individuals will testify. The establishment has a long and very positive relationship with the Berklee College of Music. Many future artists and performing artists perform there. The band, Ms. Maloney will tell you, the establishment is extremely proud of its relationship with Berklee College of Music and understanding that they are in close proximity to undergraduate programs. They're very, very careful about service in this establishment. They do have a scanner, which was in use on the night in question. And they, in fact, interface with the performers who they know from their Berklee College neighborhood, who are underage, and inform them that they will carefully monitor all that is going on, and they take it extremely seriously. In the incident in question, you will hear that a patron, we don't believe it was Mr. Bowen who was outside, but a patron basically said, "Hey, I want to buy a drink for the band." It was a busy night. This patron bought drinks. This patron passed one off without the knowledge of the staff to Ms. Kirk. Ms. Kirk then immediately walked outside, where she was later seen by the detectives. If you're familiar with the location, the band area is literally in the front window of the establishment, immediately next door to the door that leads outside. It was a simple matter of taking the pass off and turning a short distance and going out to the patio where she wouldn't be seen. Ms. Kirk has taken full responsibility for her action. She's actually written a letter, which with her here to testify won't be required. But the establishment wants you to know that they take this extremely seriously. They were quite angry that this had happened, quite angry that their relationship with Berklee College of Music could be affected by incidents such as this. And they want the board to know that they did not serve Ms. Kirk. They knew she was underage, and they were not aware that she was outside with a beer in her hand until the detectives brought it to their attention. They then immediately cooperated in every respect. And Ms. Kirk will tell you that she has gone to the Boston Municipal Court and will take responsibility for her actions. If you would like to question Ms. Maloney, who was there that night, will tell you that she did not serve Ms. Kirk, would not have served Ms. Kirk, knew that Ms. Kirk was underage, and the only reason she was in the establishment that night was to perform her music with the band. We apologize for the occurrence, but we believe the establishment acted responsibly in the context of what happened that evening. And again, we stand by to take any of your questions. And I believe Ms. Kirk would like to be heard as well.
Thank you, Attorney Guilty. Chairman Joyce, do you have questions for the licensee, or would you like to hear from Ms. Kirk first?
I have a couple of questions for the licensee. The patio, that is on your license only open from April to October?
Yes, ma'am. In discussions with them, with Mr. McCarthy, who's the owner yesterday, he thought that they had taken steps to make that an annual patio. They apparently have not. I think what happened is they assumed, since there were greater allowances under the COVID restrictions, that they were properly utilizing it. They weren't. They will certainly make any application required to make that an annual patio. But again,
so just my question. So it was open and operating. It wasn't that this person snuck out there. They were using it as a patio at this time.
No. I think she just walked out onto an area that would have been a seasonal patio use. It was not in use since the middle of December. And they walked outside the door.
The establishment believed they had the right to use the patio in December. They thought the COVID restrictions had extended.
They thought they had, yes.
So they thought the patio was active and open.
Correct, but it wasn't really being used. These folks walked out.
Patrons had access to it because it wasn't locked. It wasn't, inaccessible to patrons because the establishment thought that they had a seasonal patio through COVID.
The space exists. It wasn't.
No, I understand the space exists, but if some people don't have a license to use the space all year round, they would have probably locked it or had staff there. But it sounds like this establishment was mistaken in believing the patio was open due to COVID extensions and people had access to it.
No, I think people simply walked out. I mean, literally the door to the outside, which leads onto that space, which would have been used during the summer, is immediately next to the bandstand. They literally walked out a second and they were outside the building.
Okay.
On a space that in the seasonal time would have been used for the patio.
Okay. That was my only question. Commissioners, do you have questions before we move on to the other testimony?
I do not, no.
None right now, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kirk, is there any additional information you would like to provide the board for their consideration?
I provided a letter. May I just read that? Is that
absolutely?
This letter is in regards to the events occurring reportedly just after midnight on Saturday, December 4th at the Bebop in Boston. I was performing with my band what was intended to be 2 sets, one from about 10:30 to 11:45 p.m. and one from midnight to 1 a.m. After our first set, a man stood up off his bar stool and announced to my bandmates and I, he was like, "I'm buying the band drinks." So my bandmate, Emilio Bowen, who is 21 years old, accepted, ordered 1 beer at the bar. And then the man asked if I wanted anything. I said, "If you're buying, sure." So he ordered me a drink. And then Ms. Maloney, gave it to him. He then gave it to me. The bar was at maximum capacity all night. The bouncer at times was like not able to let people in the door. It was super busy. So she had no way of knowing that the man wasn't going to drink it himself. He handed it to me. My bandmate Emilio and I Unbeknownst to the staff, we stepped outside because it was crowded and it felt warm. My other band member then tried to order a drink and they said no because he didn't have ID. I was served because it was a much older man who ordered it on my behalf. And I take full responsibility for my actions. I have attended a hearing for possession of alcohol as a minor, and I received consequences from the Boston Police Department and the clerk magistrate. Neither the owner of the Bebop nor its employees were aware that the man had bought a drink for me, and there was no reason to suspect him of providing alcohol to a minor, nor me of underage drinking, as I did not actually order anything at the bar.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk, and thank you for being with us this morning. Any further questions from the board? Chairman Joyce? No?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Carr and Commissioner Saxon?
And
Quilty, do you have any
would you
questions?
like to hear from Ms. Maloney? She's the person who was present that night.
Thank you.
Ms. Maloney, just to take a minute to identify yourself. You've already been sworn.
Yeah, my name is Noreen Maloney. I'm the bar manager and I was present on the night this all happened. Yeah, it's basically just going off what Ms. Kirk said. The gentleman was with a couple other people and he bought a couple of drinks. So it was just a presumption really that it was going to his friends and not to the band members. A band member had come up a half an hour before all this went down and he asked me for a drink and I asked him for his ID and he's like, I don't have one. So then I was like, well, you're not getting a drink then. So then he went about his way then. And then, yeah, this unfolded then a half an hour later. So that's about it really. We were unknown that where the drinks, I just thought they were going to the guy that was who bought them at the bar to his friends. So they had been there for a while. And that man was gone then when the detective showed up as well. So that's it really.
And did you have your ID scanner in use that night, Ms. Maloney?
Yeah, the ID scanner was in use and the detective also clarified with the people that were in there, they ID'd them again also and everything was fine.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. The board may have some questions for you.
Thank you. Anything further from the board?
Yeah. No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board will take this under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Maloney. Thanks, Ms. Kirk.
Thank you.
Calling item number 7, New Liquors, Inc., doing business as Walsh Wine and Spirits, located at 388 Washington Street in Brighton. Dated the incident December 20th, 2022. Service of alcohol to persons under 21 years of age in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34 to 34A, Section 41, and 64 to 64A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Stephanie Boudreau from our law here on behalf of the licensee, Walsh Liquors. And with me tonight, this afternoon is manager of record, Neeraj Shretha. Neeraj, can you turn your video on?
There we go. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Tuesday, December 20th, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD License Apprentice Unit, were monitoring the sale of alcohol to underage patrons at liquor stores. While parked across the street from Walsh's Liquor Store, 388 Washington Street in Brighton, detectives observed a male later identified as Gabriel Barnett walk out of the liquor store with one 12-pack of beer in a plastic bag with 2 bottles of hard liquor. Detectives noticed this male looked young and watched him get into a motor vehicle parked across the street. Detectives stopped the motor vehicle and asked Mr. Barnett to produce identification to confirm his age. After speaking to the occupants of the motor vehicle, all the occupants stated they were under 21 years of age. When detectives asked Mr. Barnett how he obtained the alcohol, which detectives observed him walk out of the store with, Mr. Barnett produced a fraudulent Connecticut driver's license stating he was over 21 years of age. Detectives used a license verification app to confirm that the driver's license provided by Mr. Barnett was indeed fraudulent. Detectives were able to confirm that Mr. Barnett did have a valid Massachusetts driver's license and confiscated the fraudulent Connecticut driver's license. 6 out of the 8 remaining occupants of the motor vehicle provided detectives with their fraudulent driver's licenses and also their valid driver's licenses. All the fraudulent driver's licenses displayed a date of birth and made it appear as though the individuals were over 21 years of age. Detectives used the license verification program, which confirmed that the provided driver's licenses were indeed fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. Then the report just goes into detailing all who the individuals were and their true driver's licenses. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 059752 to Walsh's Liquor Store for service of alcohol to persons under 21 years of age. Person in charge, Mr. Nikoji Sharatha, signed for and accepted the notice. That was all.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Boudreau, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to ask Mr. Shretha some questions for the board. Mr. Shretha, can you tell the board what processes you had in place at the time of the incident to ensure that buyers are all over 21?
So first of all, we check the ID and make sure they are over 21 and they were not intoxicated.
Thank you. And the buyer, the single buyer who came into the store on December 21st, which is the evening of the incident, did he look over 21?
Yes.
And did he look intoxicated?
No.
And you heard the officer testify that there were several individuals in the car. There was just one individual who came into the store. Is that correct?
One individual.
Or who purchased alcohol that night?
At that night?
That is the subject of this citation. There was just one. It was just Gabriel Barnett.
Yes.
Okay. And in the past, have you confiscated IDs when you observe the buyers look under 21 or their IDs appear fake?
Yeah, after that, we asked them the date of birth with verification of their address, everything. So if we seems like they are a little confused or nervous, then we take the ID and tell them to walk away from the store. From now, we have 27 fake IDs.
Great. And since the violation at issue, what measures have you taken to avoid future violations?
So after that, I installed the ID scanner from the POS. And I'm also trying to get the most, like it's called IntelliSec ID scanner. I think it's the most popular for now. So I'm trying to install that for this week.
Great.
And I'm also trying to reviewing the training by myself and my employee too.
Great. And where you're located in Brighton, do you get a lot of out-of-state licenses?
Yes, because that's nearby the college area. So not just the Mass, we have like lots of out of another state.
Great. And is this the first citation you've received?
Yes.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Attorney Boudreau. We'll move on to questions from the board, starting with Chairwoman Joyce. Do you have any questions for the licensee or the detectives?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Detective Hernandez and Sergeant Gallagher. Did the individual who bought the alcohol, did he appear young to you?
Extremely, man.
Okay.
That's what caught our attention right away.
Okay. And sir, has this person that you served that night, had he ever been in there before? Had you ever served him before? You never got in?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you testify that you're working on getting a scanner or that you have one?
I have.
You have one. And do you use it?
Yes, every time.
Every time, even if someone looks 30 years old?
Yes. If like I ask if they look like young or not like that old, if somebody look like too old, we don't ask ID, but if something like look like a 25, 30, we ask ID and we scan every time.
Okay.
Can I just add to clarify that Mr. Shretha has purchased and has installed the retail POS ID verification system, but he's also ordered the same scanner that the Boston Police use, which is called IntelliCheck, which hasn't come in yet. And as soon as it does, he will be installing it and using that. And I'd also just like to add that the individual who did come in and purchase, who's the subject of the citation, was 19. So he wasn't, he might have, I haven't seen him. I don't know what he looked like, but he was underage, obviously, but he wasn't super young.
You sure he's 19? I think he's 18.
Well, his birthday is May 10th, 2004. So he'll be 19. Sorry, he'll be 19 in March. Sorry, in May. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is in December, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just want to ask you, this was an out-of-state ID. What is your policy for accepting out-of-state IDs?
Oh, before we just ask them like date of birth and verification for the address. And for now, we do have a scanner, so we just scan the ID every time.
Okay, you can't rely on out-of-state IDs, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
You should be asking for backup identification with out-of-state IDs.
Okay.
Just for clarification, ma'am, that was the first group of many groups we've encountered there that night. I think that was the first of at least a couple of groups. We only wrote one violation instead of the multiple that we should have written that night.
Okay, and given that you are in this neighborhood with a lot of college kids, often college kids are underage, you should really retrain your staff, have some written rules, and I think you should have a better understanding of what is and isn't acceptable for out-of-state IDs.
Sure.
Okay.
We will make sure that that those rules are reviewed and are put up in the store and reviewed with all the employees.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Maybe more of just a comment, but it seems in light of Detective Hernandez's comments that there were other groups, I think you should be aware that maybe you've been identified by students as being a place that you can procure alcohol and act accordingly. And that may include rejecting out-of-state IDs completely. You can tell patrons that they can procure a Massachusetts ID even if they reside, have an official residence in another state. You can tell them that they can bring in their passport because passports are very, very common now, especially with increased international travel. Many people have passports. There's also, the statute also has military IDs. So there's options that you can direct them towards, but I would be very careful about accepting out-of-state IDs, especially right now where it seems like you might be currently a target of underage children, underage patrons. Thank you.
Yeah, I do.
Just one more thing, not to interrupt you. If Commissioner Saxon has questions, I can go after. You testified that he is in the process of ordering the program that the Boston Police use.
Yes.
I think that's an app. I'll turn it over to the Boston Police License Premise Unit, but isn't that something?
Yeah, I think it's called, I think it's called Intel ID Check.
Yes, ma'am. They're not waiting on anything to order it because it's just an app you can download and just then, get the program. So there's nothing to wait for.
Well, I just got the email back from them today. I emailed them a couple times, but they reached out to me today.
Right. There is no device. You can just put that on a phone or an app.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good luck setting that up. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Commissioner Saxon, did you have any questions?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this under advisement.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 8, Simcoe's Inc., doing business as Simcoe's, located at 1509 Blue Hill Ave in Mattapan. Date of the incident, December 21st, 2022. Premise operating after posted 1 a.m. closing, a 2 a.m. closing on their webpage in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 9. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody with us on behalf of Simcoe's? We will take a second call. Calling item number 9, Witchcraft LLC, doing business as New England Wicked Craft Company, located at 54 Salem Street. Date of the incident, December 30th, 2022. Overcrowding, 63 mechanical count, 49 capacity. in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
My name is Steve Bassan. I am the general manager.
Thank you for being with us. As I see you're calling in from a phone, I don't suppose it's possible to turn on your camera?
I do apologize. I don't have a computer with me at the moment. I am remote.
Okay. We will just ask you to affirm that you are raising your right hand when asked to do so. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? And Mr. Bassan, can you please affirm to the board that you are raising your right hand?
I am.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. If you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from police report, which I wrote on Friday, December 30th, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD License Permission Unit, conducted a license permit inspection of Witchcraft located at 54 Salem Street in Boston. As detectives walked into the establishment, detectives asked the front door staff how many patrons they currently had. The staff member stated he did not have a count of patrons and did not know the capacity. Detectives reviewed the licenses and permits of the establishment. Detectives learned the capacity of the premises set at 49 persons. Detective Hernandez performed a mechanical count of the establishment and discovered that the actual number of persons located inside the premise was 63. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Steve Bisson. Mr. Bisson stated that he would immediately bring the establishment into compliance. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license permit inspection notice 059761 for overcrowding of the establishment. Mr. Bisson signed for and accepted the notice. So,
thank you very much. Mr. Bassan, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, please. So this was around, I think it was approaching 10:30. We had several of our reservations about to finish up. The door staff was new. They had been instructed of the capacity, but I guess in the moment when they were questioned, they had forgotten it. And I do apologize because he was also instructed that the restaurant was about to clear out, just to be aware that a lot of tables were going to become available within the next, it was supposed to be 10:30 that they were getting up, but people were staying a little bit longer that evening. So I guess at that moment, he admitted people into the restaurant because that I had notified him that our reservations were concluding shortly. And so what I've done since then is, number one, made sure everybody's aware of the 49 person capacity, which does not leave much room for standing. And in this situation, there were several people standing around the bar waiting for the tables to get up. So the policy moving forward is that I don't allow standing room for more than 2 people at the bar. And on Friday and Saturday, I am up front with people greeting guests at the door. And I have also ordered, they're here, they already arrived, but I have a head counter, which I've instructed whether the host or anybody at the front is to use. So we're on the corner at the top of Salem Street. We get a lot of people walking past, walking in, and I've instructed everybody, and I have taken upon myself to do a better job of trying to control that flow of people coming in, especially later at night, right around that 10:30, because the restaurant's full from reservations, but we have a lot of people who are leaving dinner at other restaurants in the North End trying to stop by for a drink. So that's a crucial time, and that's a time that I will continue to give extra attention to. But that is what happened in that situation.
Thank you. I'll move to questions from the board. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Carn, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
And Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling item number 10, James Associates, Inc., doing business as the Broadway, located at 734 East Broadway in South Boston. Dated the incident December 31st, 2022, overcrowding 472, a mechanical count, capacity 416, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Matthew Verzi, I'm the area manager for Broadway Hospitality Group.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
William Gallagher.
And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective Hernandez, if needed.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. On 12/31/2022, 10:40 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of the Broadway at 726 East Broadway. As detectives moved about the premise, they observed the rear room to be quite crowded, with all tables occupied and patrons blocking all aisles, making it hard to pass through. Thinking that the premise had exceeded its occupant load, Detective Hernandez conducted a mechanical count, which resulted in the count of 472 people. Detectives observed the premise capacity to be at 416. Detectives relayed the result of the count to the manager, John Carbone, who said he would bring the premise into compliance. As a result, what was observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection number 059773 to the Broadway for overcrowding, 472 mechanical count, capacity 416. Mr. Carbone signed for and accepted the notice. So is essentially the facts.
Thank you very much. Mr. Verzi, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, so standard operating procedure for typical Saturdays, we run 6 door staff. We have 2 that are outside, and then we have 4 inside. The 2 outside, one manages the line and make sure that they're behaving. There's no drinking the line and not being too loud for the neighborhood. Then we have 1 at the door that checks IDs. We also have the manager goes and requests counts periodically. And then we have 4 gentlemen inside that are supposed to walk through clear lanes and make sure that the guests and patrons are not clogging up areas and keeping the establishment safe. Moving forward, we're going to request that the security, one of the gentlemen inside, every half an hour to 45 minutes walk through and do an additional count to verify. At times, what tends to happen is that they'll come in, the first security will come in and do a count when they arrive to get a baseline of where we are with guests. And then they're keeping track of people coming and going throughout the night. And what's sometimes going to happen is they just lose track of the number of people going and the people coming out. So I think what makes sense for us moving forward is to do more frequent counts walking through the establishment to confirm that we're not over capacity. So that's sort of what we put in place moving forward.
Okay. Not sure if Danny is still with us, but I don't have any other questions at this time. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify about this? Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. No, thank you.
None from me either. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for joining us. We'll move on to the next one. All right.
Should we take a recess and see if we can get Danny back, or?
Yeah, give me 1 second. He's in the next office.
He's hopping back on right now.
Thank you. Apologies for that. Thank you very much. We are finished with number 10.
We are, yes.
Thank you. Calling item number 11, Inshallah Inc., doing business as Crave, located at 128 Brighton Ave in Alston, dated the incident January 8th, 2023. Premise providing bottle service to patrons without authorization in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Mr. Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With us this morning is Sue Cheng, one of the owners. Thank you.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Oh, we can see you, but can't hear you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher, but thank you. No, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please read the police report into the record.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Wednesday, January 11th, 2023. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, assigned to the BP license unit, received information from District 14 Sergeant Detective Jeffrey McGann that Crave Austin was providing bottle service. Sergeant McGann also provided detectives with multiple video clips of an event taking place on January 8th, which showed bottle service being provided by the establishment. On Friday, January 14, 2023, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez conducted a license premise inspection of Crave Austin. Upon reviewing the establishment's licenses and permits, detectives observed that the establishment common victual license did not provide for bottle service. While standing at the host stand, detectives observed a flyer advertising the different types of liquor bottles available for bottle service. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Tommy Lee, and informed him that this service is not authorized on their license. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 060108 for a premise providing bottle service not authorized on current common victual license. Mr. Lee signed for an accepted notice. And also in the report, I did include a copy of the actual flyer that we received that night there for all the bottles you can buy, and a couple of screenshots of the videos that we were provided showing bottle service occurring. That is all.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Just briefly, if I might, Detective, did Mr. Lee inform you that with regard to the flyers, that they were actually not in use, that they were to be disposed of and were not actually in use on the night in question?
No, sir. He was actually trying to hide them from us, and I actually had to actually grab one. Well, he was trying to distract us so that I couldn't see what they were actually showing me. He showed me the side where they had food on there. He didn't let me see that.
I'm sorry to hear that. I was informed that was not the case, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I know Ms. Chang is here, would like to address the board. She was not present on the night in question when the incident occurred. I'm informed that she has, subsequent to that evening, has filed the appropriate paperwork to request bottle service, and I know she would like to address the board this morning. Thank you. Ms. Chang?
Hi, I wasn't there the night of the incident for either, but I was told by Tommy as well that when the detectives were there at the front, they saw in a basket all the old menus that we were using. And he said he specifically told the detectives that they were in use, that they were old menus. And I guess bottle service happened even the night when it happened, the 8th. I wasn't present either. I can only apologize that when we first got cited for it, we didn't file the necessary paperwork because it got hectic, and thought it was more of a grueling process. And since then, when I've talked to Mr. Danny Green, I've learned, and he emailed me the form where I have filled it out already, and I sent it back to City Hall as of last week. I mailed it out on last Wednesday, filling out what we would need in order to apply for it. And we already talked to security team where we would have to add extra personnel indoors. And in order to actually provide bottle service, we would have to hire staff that would, females that would go ahead and watch over the tables that we have to go ahead and provide the service, where it'd be one girl per 2 tables is my estimate right now, if we're looking at it.
Thank you. We have not received any application yet, just for the record.
I mailed it off last Wednesday. So I printed it out and mailed it. You emailed me, I think, middle of February.
Attorney Quilty or Ms. Chang, anything further before we move to questions from the board?
No.
Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Just one question, you may have covered it, but I might have missed it. Did you use a promoter on this night?
The 8th, when it happened, yes, there was.
Okay. I think it's very important as the manager of record that you should be communicating with your promoters so that they are following the rules and regulations, because ultimately it is your name and your license and your right to operate.
And I do. It was very last minute when it happened because I'm normally there for most events, but January happened. There was a lot of family stuff going on, and even when the detective showed up, like I wasn't able to even be there for any of the events for most of that month.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Board will take this under advisement.
Thank you.
We'll take a second call for item number 8. Has anybody joined us on behalf of Simcoe's? Chairman Joyce, this has not been rescheduled. This is the first time appearing. Would you like to have the report read into the record or reschedule with the license?
Reschedule.
Okay. Item number 8 will be rescheduled to the next available hearing date. Those are all the items before the board this morning. That will conclude this morning's hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.